to the minutes as before. On May 5th, we had the first press release, and it was read into the minutes. So hopefully we can understand our residents after hearing that, even though there wasn't enough residents here, but our residents can comprehend and understand what has been happening with the law firm that has come to us pro bono. And for those that want clarity, pro bono is free of charge. We have an agreement that also states with Buckingham King, if anything else comes up outside of the agreement of taking care of one issue, they would be obliged to take care of that. And having had to do that, it was determined that this would happen by our law director, as I stated last night. The law director directed us to seek outside representation.
She did us a favor.
So, having said that, we can move on to the next item on the agenda.
Report on council committees.
Okay, let's go. Councilman King.
Can we come back?
Pardon?
Can we come back to me?
Constable.
Constable.
You're a comfortable man. Mark.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone?
Fine.
I rise to speak.
I'm breathing.
Okay, on November 12th, the personal appointments meeting took place. In attendance was those on the committee, the mayor was in attendance, the law director was there. We have some legislation that we'll be voting on in regard to Pierce Ordinance 5315. We got a breakdown of how many employees we have in the city. I'll share this with you. The mayor has 3 full-time people. The mayor, the chief of staff, and executive assistant. In the police department, we have 22 full-time. Okay. In the police department, we have that, but here's the key in the police department. When officers leave or whatever the case, we're hired part-time. That saves us money. In the fire department, we have 38 full-time firefighters and 14 part-time. There's a caveat in that, but that's always been pretty solid. Service department, we have 12 full-time, excuse me. Community development and building department, we have 4 full-time and 1 part-time. Law department, 4 full-time. Finance, 2 full-time and 2 part-time. The judicial branch, of course, 18 full-time. That's the other part of government. We have the legislative, the executive, with the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. And the legislative branch, as you know, we have 5 council people who are basically part-time, but they're not really legally seen as that. And we have our clerk, who is full-time. So total, about 147 employees. And over the last 3 or 4 years, you can say basically the staff have been cut in half and dwindling, so we're saving there. The other thing we discussed was the OPRS, which was standard piece, and our law director, Willie Hemmings, explained that pretty well, and we met because we wanted to answer some questions, and that's coming up. And it's OPRS, which the caveat in that is this. The city has fronted the pickup of 9-10% instead of raises with the OPRS. The city was deducting this percentage from the employee's salary and sending it down to OPRS as was posted. It was posted and was supposed to wrong on the books. The city will no longer deduct this from the service employee's salary. The city must now pay this amount in addition to the city's annual instead of a raise. This is an OPR mandatory change. So according to the law director, and we spent a lot of time answering questions, so we knew what we're doing. This is mandatory, so we're doing it right. So when you see ordinance 5315, it will be coming up in the legislative portion of this agenda. We'll be voting on that. Madam Chairman, that concludes the report of the OPR of the Personnel Appointment Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Martin. Mr. King, Councilman King, are you ready to give your report so we can move on?
No, thank you, Council President.
On items that if you've had your committee meeting,
My committee, which is General Services, has not met. However, we haven't officially met. However, we have been meeting, trying to bring in partnerships and form different things to improve the city in one way, shape, or form.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
We're talking about your committee meeting. If your committee meeting has not met, then what you're talking about now will be discussed when you have a committee meeting. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, we met, but we didn't have a quorum, so it wasn't official.
Okay,
But we met.
so you didn't have a committee meeting. So the next time that you meet, hopefully, there will be a quorum and we will be able to hear all the good things that you're trying to do in your committee.
Thank you, Council President. That concludes my report.
All right. Councilman Vice President, Mr. Thomas Wheeler.
I have no report at this time.
Okay. I have a short report. As far as going to the commission meeting this month, the commission, as you know, or some of you might not know, we all passed the recovery plan unanimously.
Right.
So, and in that meeting, it was good to hear the chair of the commission state that after hearing what I had to say, she said it looks like what Ms. Thomas is saying is that you work together to accomplish the recovery plan. And we did. We went from the finance director, the mayor and I sat down with the finance director. I came back and sat down. We did some reevaluating of the recovery plan and took out things that was not relevant and would not produce anything that of substance on the horizon. We garnered a plan that we thought would work. It's a small step forward, but it is first progressive step that has been taken in many months. So I am pleased that it was overwhelmingly accepted. I sit on the commission and so does the mayor. So all the voting took place and we now have a recovery plan. Also, pardon?
I just said now implementing it and sticking to it.
That is the next step. It is not so much as speculating on what is going to happen. It is what has happened, and we are going forward. And this council is satisfied at this particular moment, or this particular time, that we are going to unite and push for a recovery of a united East Cleveland. I was in church yesterday and the pastor kept saying, we're going to have a new build on something, you have to have a foundation. And the foundation that we have has got to be clear and start from there. So I think in all, it is incumbent upon this council, this administration, this administration of the courts to work diligently and bring about a change. My learned counselor said last night that there are many things that he would like to do. So we're going to put him to the task with the full body of the council. And we're going to start building. It's a new day. It's going to be a new year. We got a new counselor. And we need to start anew. I asked one of the commissioners, what is the definition of broke? And he said, the definition of broke, in their eyesight, is that you're supposed to have at least 1 month's money in the coffin. I was always told that you need 3 months in the coffin. If something happens, you will be able to deal with that. So it seems like we're teetering on the edge. We have been going from month to month, and we have been paying salaries. And as Councilman Martin said, when one leaves, that gives room for money to be looked at, because that is a salary saved unless you're paying out their pension. Thank you. Moving right along, Madam Clerk.
Legislation. Ordinance number 53-15. Resolution that the city of East Cleveland, Ohio will pick up the statutorily required employee contributions to the Ohio Public Employees Retirement System for the Service Department employees of the city of East Cleveland, Ohio, pursuant to Internal Revenue Code Section 414H2, requested by Finance Director Johnson and sponsored by Councilman Nathaniel Martin.
Councilman Martin, this ordinance bears your name. What is the
Madam President, our sponsor ordinance 53-15, I move for its adoption.
It has been moved and seconded. Discussion?
We met, like I told you, on the 12th, and we went through it thoroughly. I held it up because we hadn't had a committee discussion on it, and everybody, the council president was there also, so we tweaked this thing all the way. The mayor confirmed we are current in our OPRS payment, so we need to move on. This is something we have to do. Okay?
In addition to what the company is saying, it's also a contractual item. And what they, PERS pickup, as it is called, instead of giving an increase, that's what they do. And they have apparently been computing it incorrectly, if I'm not mistaken, Madam Law Director. So now, what they're asking to do is just turn it around and compute it like it's supposed to be. All right, is there anything else on this? Call for the roll.
Councilman King,
Yay.
Councilman Martin,
Yay!
Councilman Baker, absent, Council Wheeler, Council President Thomas.
Yeah.
Next item,
State
passed.
for the record that it passed.
ordinance number 53-15 passes.
Yes, they did. Thank you.
Next is resolution number 55-15, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor for tax year 2016 and declaring an emergency. for the preservation of the public peace, property, health, and safety to meet the submission deadline of November 1st, 2015, requested by Finance Director, sponsored by Council President Barbara J. Thomas.
Council President, this is sponsored by you. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Vice President, I will sponsor resolution 55-15 and move for its adoption.
You will. Second.
Second.
Move in second. Discussion.
Yes, Madam Law Director, for the application of the residents, would you explain to the residents that's here, who is the commission, and our obligation to deal with the tax on a yearly basis? Can she do that?
Oh
She's
my
a law
God.
worker, not a financial. This is something that the city does every single year. There are various tax rates that we have. These rates that are in the chart here, that is in the legislation, they stipulate the amounts from our property taxes that go to certain places. General fund, police and fire pension fund, and those that are outside of the 10 million. It's something that's done every year. That's essentially what we are.
And what would happen if we don't do that?
They were out of compliance with
Out of
state
compliance
law.
means that we're not abiding by the law, which is consistent with the law director being involved in this conversation.
Well, as the legislation sponsor, feel free to talk about it.
I did,
Okay.
and I asked, could she explain to the residents?
And she would have told you the same thing I just told you.
No, you said no, she did not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Could she explain?
There's no further discussion? I'll wait for you, Mr. O'May. Thank you. No further discussion. Can the clerk call the roll, please?
Council King,
Yeah.
Council Martin,
Yay!
Council Baker absent, Council Wheeler,
Yay.
Council President Thomas.
Yay.
Measure resolution passes. Resolution number 55-15 passes.
You have a comment,
Pardon?
you have a comment.
Oh, she's returning the gavel to me as required in the meeting. Remarks and requests of the public. State your name and address.
The address is actually optional.
Well, I'm all with that.
State your name and your address according to
The record.
That's fine with me. My name is Devin Brash. I'm, for the moment, still a member of the Board of Trustees of East Cleveland Public Library. And my address is 1739 Holyoke.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Council President. Council President, members of Council, and Mayor. I'm here to speak today on two issues. One issue that I would like to speak to the Council about is the issue referenced in the press release concerning the feasibility study that would be performed, provided that funding was obtained by Conway McKinsey. I think it's important for members of the Council and the public to know that this is not just any firm that would be involved in this, that Andy Dillon, who was the Executive Director of Conway McKinsey, was also the Treasurer of the State of Michigan, who handled the issues of the bankruptcy of Detroit, as well as the financial crisis in Benton Harbor.
Correct.
He also is working with the federal government to deal with the debt crisis in Puerto Rico. So this is someone who is one of the most renowned experts in the issue of cities dealing with fiscal crises in the United States of America. And I would urge members of the council as well as members of the public to support wholeheartedly every effort to facilitate the feasibility study being done and monies being obtained through foundations. So if a request is provided to the council from the citizens group, I'm a member of that citizens group, which contains members of very diverse backgrounds, residents of the city of East Cleveland, some people who have, as I myself have publicly spoken in favor of the continued independence of the city of East Cleveland, others who have doubts, and some who are at this moment opposed. So there's a very diverse body with very diverse opinions, and I believe a feasibility study is critical at this point. I don't believe, however, that people should think that whatever the feasibility study produces, that they must accept the results as delivered. It's a first step to provide some objective information to the general public that can then be assessed and people can draw conclusions. We had a similar study done by the East Cleveland Public Library Board of Trustees, where consultants from Baldwin-Wallace Community Research Institute provided a feasibility study that reached conclusions that people like myself and others who led the fight to keep the library independent disagreed with, and it proved that we were correct in that situation, and we were able to take our library system out of a situation of significant deficit, over I believe $800,000, to a situation of sizable surplus despite declining resources, without receiving any grant funds, just by better stewardship of the resources that we obtained. So the second thing that I would like to speak about is one of the other consequences.
Hope you got no time.
It'll be very quick.
Okay,
I'll try to be brief.
that's all right.
I don't speak very often here, and it's important. So recently there was a report issued by the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office, I believe, concerning the shooting of Tamir Rice. And I think this is critical, because one of the things we would definitely get if we were to be annexed is the Cleveland Police Department, which is an unaccountable police department. We've had the situation at Heritage Middle School where 13 police officers fired 137 shots
Yes.
at 2 unarmed and defenseless black people who then lost their lives in our middle school parking lot. And I'm very, not only very hesitant, I oppose 100% extending the jurisdiction of an unaccountable police force to police a 95% black community. Thank you very much.
All right, Devin.
Right on.
All right, I didn't know you had all that info.
Amazed.
She didn't cut you off before you started. 1, 2, 3, go.
Thank you. The powers and duties. The mayor shall be responsible to the council for the proper administrative of all affairs of the city and the enforcement of the laws and ordinance except as herein otherwise provided. And to that end, he shall have authority to appoint and remove all other administrative officers and employees. He shall attend all meetings of the council and its committees with the rights to participate in their discussion, but he shall have no vote. He shall prepare and submit to council the annual budget after receiving estimate made by the directors of the departments, and shall perform such other duties as may be prescribed by this charter and the ordinance and resolutions of council. Not council performing other duties performed by administration, but by this council. You have the authority. And you keep allowing an employee, and you guys recognize him as chief of staff. There's no such position as the chief of staff, number one. Number two, if you found irregularities, that does not speak well for you, or does not speak well for the law director or anyone else in this city that wants you to legislate something that has flaws in it, that is unlawful. That's the problem here. That's what I said to the prosecutor. That's what I said to the board of directors, the election board, that if you accept this, you have set precedents that anything anybody bring down here, whatever it has, you have to accept it. That's where it is. And then you sit and then you got other folks running around here. The mess was all discombobulated. I have never seen, yes I have, and I have gone before the prosecutor before and won cases with law directors, writing legislation, writing petitions, etc., with 3 or 4 subject matters. Your charter tells you you must have one subject matter and it must be clearly stated. Clearly stated. Not conglomeration and all that mess that's in that petition. And if anyone that signed the petition, I don't care if you're sitting up in here, you don't know what in the heck you were signing, because there are 5 sentences when subject matter's in that thing. Annexation is all the way down, I mean, a study, to do a study is all the way at the bottom.
Mr.
The
O'May.
first thing it says, we the citizens,
Mr. O'May.
let me just finish my sentence
Mr.
and I'll
O'May,
yield.
your time is up at this particular time, and I counted for you to make sure you got your time.
Well, I think we should, there was no time on the other person that was sitting before me. You didn't time her. That's not true. So to sit up there and say you did, you're lying.
I don't lie.
Well,
And that's
anybody say he wasn't
disrespectful.
timed.
That's disrespectful.
No,
And I would
I mean,
never
that's
say
being
that.
disrespectful to me because he
Okay.
wasn't.
He spoke 3 minutes and 6 seconds. You spoke 3 minutes and 12. Both of you over time.
Okay, we're not going to debate that, okay? Ms. Topher?
Terry A. Topher, 14511 Terrace Road. I want to iterate what my former picketing buddy said. I said it at the State Commission, I'll say it again. And I said it didn't get on, and probably on television, when Art McCoy called me up there at Heritage, because he knew I lived right down the street. When I was in court with Relo, one time it was actually they said 139 bullets. And what I stated was that my aunt and uncle didn't buy a house for the Cleveland police to come into this city and murder 2 people, and they're trying to wiggle out and get off of it. I have been a grassroots committee activist for over 30 years, and many of those issues had to do with the Cleveland police, and which they had over 4,000 complaints. My understanding is up to 5,000 complaints. In my view, the Cleveland police are terrorists in this community, and until this system deals with them, I don't want to have anything to do with my favorite hometown, Pickett, Cleveland, Ohio.
Hello, my name is Juanita Galvin. I'm a resident in East Cleveland. I was riding past Noble Road, and that dump is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Then I was riding around Page. They dumping over there too. They dumping over there on Page. And we need to do something about this because wintertime is coming. People is actually getting sick. And we got homeowners and people that renting homes living over there. It's not making sense. Y'all, council signed off on it. Council need to handle it. And salt. We mentioned salt last night. Brandon King has said we only got a little to last. But I don't even see no salt. Where's the salt at? And I need to address that. Also, a lot of people is complaining about people going into these abandoned houses, tearing out stuff, and it look like they face, the police officers is not really trying to stop these people going into all these abandoned houses. A lady had moved, came back, her house is, been vandalized, and this is going on in our city, and if we don't protect our city, who is we protecting? We need to learn how to protect each other, be each other's eyes or something like that, but we need our city to come back alive because we've been asleep too long. When you see chunk holes bigger than the cars, come on now. The car tires, busting them, and people is complaining. And then another thing that I want to mention is the cameras. I heard on the radio, Mayor Norton has said that if you get camera tickets, you can bring it up there, and it's supposed to be no ticket. Y'all supposed to, citation or nothing. But now they still get money for it. So where's that money going? You can't say one thing and do another. And this is what's been going on in our city. Saying one thing and doing another. And far as this taxes, it's necessary to have it certified, and it got a deadline on it. So what happened if you pass the deadline? You mentioned it. What happened if you pass the deadline of the taxes? You know, it's going to be what? What's going to happen? We're going to be back into the same hole that people keep digging us in. And it's not good.
You better say your time is up. I didn't hear that go off. Did it go off? Okay. I'm sorry. I was so intent to listen.
Tammy Wheeler, good evening. It's good to see that the Salvation Army is finally going forth with putting up the new building over there on Dome. That's a great thing. It's going to be a great benefit to a lot of the citizens and the young teenagers here, the youth that we have. Because I understand, I think when they had the last meeting when they were here, that they're going to have quite a few services for a lot of the youth and some of the older adults. This is something that's really needed in the city because of the fact that we don't offer that anymore like we did at the Civic Center. We had a lot of things going on at the Civic Center, which we no longer have, which now is the Boys and Girls Club. I really don't know how often it's open. I have driven by there, but I really don't know what the hours of operation and things are. But two, I wanted to speak, I want a little clarification on resolution number 55-15 when you get a chance. And there was one more thing I wanted to mention too. Hopefully we'll have street cleaning. The street sweepers will be back on next year, probably in 2016. We're looking forward to that because we do have a lot of dirt and things in the city, but again, as I said before when I was here at the last meeting, it takes teamwork, not just from the administration, council, the citizens. Your biggest problem is your citizens, and they're throwing stuff everywhere. You know, and if they don't step in and do anything, you all can't do for so much. You don't have that many staff here to actually accommodate the load that the city has with the garbage and different things that are going on here. So I'm just looking forward that you all seem to be moving forward. Congratulations on the recovery plan. I'm glad that you were able to finally come together on that. So that looks in a positive direction, and I wish you all luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm glad to see you.
Good evening. I'm Wanda Davis, 1270 Common Road. And I had a couple of things that I mentioned at a couple of the other meetings that I've attended. I had a couple of questions, and that was mainly if we are out of time as far as citizens offering suggestions. I was glad to hear about the recovery plan. So if we citizens have some ideas and would like to submit them, I had a question in particular for a suggestion, and that was in terms of urban homestead. And I heard last night about the land bank that we have, so that I don't know if a lot of the land that we have in the city is already in the bank or subject to some other plans or projects, but that was an idea that I had about urban homesteading. I've heard a lot about the agribusiness. Well, as a matter of fact, I think they call it agri-hoods. And so using some of the land that we have here for that, organic farming, that kind of thing, not only to add revenue to the city, but to also train some of our youth who could go into some of these projects, learning how to construct real homes and farming, that kind of thing. That would be something for our youth to get into, and something that could even provide trades, jobs, labor, on skills. Some ideas that I had I'm not sure, but on the West Coast, I've been back and forth quite a bit. And some of the restaurants that they have, El Pollo Loco, the chicken, chicken. I don't see it in this area, but since we are on such a border there with the university, I think that would, if we put something like that very close, we could pull in a lot of the business because it's not in this market joint. Something like that, bring something new and healthy. And that was my main question, whether there is a way, if there are time limit, or can we still offer suggestions? Well, those were a couple of the ideas that I had, as well as trying to find out how, if we wanted ourselves, I'm interested, as you know, having been a member of Concord Baptist Church. I've spoken to Reverend Norris about acquiring that building, and so that I would be able to provide some services for our young people as well as them. Okay. All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Rogers?
No, news desk rests. We do our talking online.
If there is no other comments, the response of council and the mayor. I'll give the mayor the privilege of responding to the residents here that has expressed their concerns about the different issues that they see that is taking place in the city of East Cleveland. Can you address those? Pardon?
No response.
No response. Okay. I'll start down on this end with Councilor Vice President Thomas Wheeler. Do you have any response to the